You're not gonna believe this. I just did like a whole bunch of recording, and I didn't turn it on. Now it's on. Okay. So I'll just start back where it was. So we're back from Little Cheesers. The kitty's already playing with the yarn. For two more teeth. And I'll get right to it. Here we go. I don't know how much this will record. But hi, Shelly. Get your own personalized video. I'm so excited here learning how to do this. When you get yarn, it usually comes in like a little goober, beep, you take it off. And then this is just yarn. This is an acrylic yarn, and it's 4-ply, which means it's got 4 little strands of yarn. I don't know if you can see real close. I'll hold it like that. See, there are like 4 little strands of yarn wound around each other. So when you're using your hook, you want to make sure you pull through all 4. You don't want to go through like 2 and then have 2 kind of hanging around. When they give you a bunch of yarn, there's 2 ways to pull the ends. Now there's one end which is tucked way inside, but it's sticking out. So if you reach inside and find it, you can pull it out, and then all of your yarn will be coming from the middle, which is kind of nice because then the ball yarn will just sort of sit there. It won't bounce around the highway, down the sidewalk. The other way is, which is what I normally do usually, is like when you first get your yarn, it'll all be kind of wound around on the outside. Sometimes this little strand is not immediately apparent. You have to kind of fish for it, and then it'll kind of pop out, and that's fine. But then, as you're working, the yarn's going to bounce. It's going to go all over the place. Somebody I just saw today said they put it in a colander, and you stick one of the little, this end through the hole, and that way it just bounces in the colander, and that's a really clever idea. It keeps your yarn clean. This yarn's a mess. It's got little goobers all over it. Anyway, then I picked out 2 hooks. I got, I don't know if you can see, this is a size K hook, which is probably what you got. And I also have a size N hook, like that. It's a little fatter, but they look about the same. And then this is the N hook. This is one of my very first hooks. It's made out of wood. And as you can see, the hook is gone because I left it outside in the rain, and it just kind of got eaten by worms, and I couldn't be sadder. I've used this hook for 30 years, but I at least still have it. But anyway, but I will say I do like the metal hooks. They go in and out real smooth. So one thing about if you're pulling yarn through this from the inside and making a little strand, is that sometimes it can knot on the inside, and then you get this big tangly mess, and then you have to go back and try to figure out how to untangle, which is a pain in the neck. That can happen even if you go with the yarn, pulling it from the outside, if it's wound there. When you get to that point in the yarn after you've used a bunch. Anyway, there's 2 ways to make a loop. Here's way number 1, like when you're tying your shoe. Get your own personalized video, Shelly. Is, the first part of tying your shoe, you make one of these little pretzel leaf looking things, and that counts as your first hole. It's also the only knot that you'll have just in the very beginning. You'll have another one like that at the end, kind of, sort of. Then you just take this and push this through that hole so that you get a little loop going through that hole. So there's that loop, and then you take, I know it looks like a big mess, but you take the little other, the short end, and you just pull it tight, and there's your loop. It looks like a noose. You probably want to hang yourself after trying this a million times and not getting it. I had a friend I tried to teach her. She just literally screamed, "I can't do this," and ran out of the room. But I had another friend, when I got that wooden hook, 2 friends. One of them made a hat using, she was a good friend of mine, Kathy, all in, I think it was slip stitch. She didn't learn single crochet, and she went around and around and around and around. It was a great little hat. It looked terrific. And then my other friend, Gail, took to it like a duck to water. I couldn't believe it. And she made a beautiful afghan for her grandma. And she had an M size hook, which is slightly smaller than the end. Kathy had an N. But anyway, here's how I make my knots a little simpler. I'm real straightforward with this. So I do like a harp knot, like a tie the end of a harp knot so it doesn't slip through the hole in the soundboard. And I just make a crisscrossy loop like that. I mean, how easy is this? Can you see? All right, looks like Dolly Madison. I'm not sure how that Casper goes. And then instead of having, a knot there like the shoelace, you do the same thing. You poke that little other, loop through that, and there's your slip knot. So it's a slightly simpler slip knot. Okay. Now I'm using a light color yarn because you can probably see it better, and I'm going to use this hook. Okay. So I'm just going to chain about 10. It doesn't matter necessarily which way you put it in. I'm just fussy. I always try to get this part to move, and I put the hook that way. Or maybe I do it the other way. I think I do it that way. Okay, I don't even know what I do. It doesn't matter. There. I'm just kind of OCD. All right, so here's where I'm starting. You want to get the yarn kind of in this little throat area because that's what determines the size of the hole. You don't want to do it here and only that far, and you don't want to obviously go that far. Notice this too. You got a flat part, and I hold it like this, like I'm going to eat, you know, I don't know what I'd eat. Probably something like pudding. But some people hold it like this, like they're going to have tea, and their pinky goes out. You know, I just don't, I mean, I've seen them crochet like that, and I just don't know. I've not really tried it, so I can't knock it. Don't knock it unless you tried it. But I like this little holdy because that's basically where, that's all this hand does. And it just goes, you know, angles stuff, and it kind of turns it if I need it. All right, I'm going to chain about 10. So here we go. So you always scoop snow. You don't scoop snow this way, right? You go under and over. So I know this is backwards and upside down, but here's your first way to make a loop. You go zoop-de-doop, scoop the snow, and put it over. Now, in this case, you can grab that first little, I don't know if you can see, it's all upside down, but backwards. You have to flip it. You have to stand on your head and turn around. That'll help. I'm just going to pull a loop through. So, in terms of what my hands do, it doesn't really count for this row, because this row is the worst. It's really squirrely. So I'm going to go, there's one little hole. 2, so notice I did a real quick swirl. There's 2, and I pull it through. Notice when I'm going through, I angle the hook down, so because if I don't, it's going to catch on there. So if I turn it that way, so like the hooky part, this little goober there, can you see? Turn it that way, and that way when you pull through, it doesn't catch on the yarn. So what did I just do? 2 holes. I'm just going to do about 10. So let me just do it real quick. 3, 4, 5. If you notice, the only thing I do is I have my second and third fingers with the yarn in between. So I kind of yarn like that when I yarn over. You know, like scoop the snow and put it over the hook. So watch it again. I don't know how many holes I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here's 6, 7. Notice I use this hand to pull through. 8. And if you also notice this too, I'm holding on to the yarn, so not to the yarn, to the little baby wormy here, to the fabric, with these 2 fingers, for now anyway. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I don't know, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just going to do 2 more, 9, 10. All right, we're done with our chains, thank God. All right, you always want to do an extra one. I think, yeah. Notice this too, when you're at the very end, it's hard to see, but the loop you just pulled, the loop you just made, which is on your hook right there, it's hard to see, is going through the last hole. It's actually in that last hole. So you don't want to go into that one. You want to go into the one that's right behind it, which is an empty hole. And there's different ways that people go in that hole. Some have 2 strands above or 1 strand below. But anyway, so what I do is when I'm going to, so notice this. I went all the way across, so I'm going from left, no, I'm sorry, I'm going from right to left like you'd read Hebrew with the poking of the holes with the hook. But the fabric is going from left to right. It's just kind of dragging. So here we go. So you're going to flip your work. Before I do it, I usually just go over 1. But before I do that, here's what I was going to tell you. Is find that little hole that's empty. Not the last one, but it's the second to last one. Just kind of keep your eyeball on it. Or put your finger on it somehow. I just grabbed it again. Now I'm going to make my last little chain. And now I flip the work and I hold that little hole again. So I flipped it the other way. Okay? Flipped it right around. You're always going to go from right to left. And you just keep flipping. At least for this kind of thing. Now, finding a consistent row of holes can sometimes be a challenge. Just do your best. I hate this row. It's horrible. I don't think I've ever mastered it. Once you get past it, you're fine. All right, so now I'm going to do supposedly 10 going the other way. Once I get past this row, I'll show you how you work your hands. So just bear with me. So here we go. So here's that little hole that I found. You go, what I do is I go, sometimes I'll use this finger to kind of make sure this doesn't slip too much. And I'll just go into that hole. What's nice is that, notice I'm just using my little two fingers like a Singer sewing machine. They just go up and down, up and down, up and down. This little, that's a terrible video. You're just making no sense at all. Mississippi mud. This little strand of yarn that you're holding with your left hand is already over your hook. So all you got to do is just pull it through. All right, now this is the first part of a single crochet. There's two parts. It's the first part is you go into the hole like we just did and grab a loop and pull it through. The second part is this. Notice my little, I'll pull it back a little bit. These fingers just go bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Notice what I'm using my fourth finger and my thumb. Pinky doesn't really have anything to do, to hold the fabric. So the pinky just hangs around, and the thumb and the fourth finger are holding the baby wormy. My second and third fingers are doing this. They make a roundy, roundy loop. Remember, you scoop the snow, and then so the last part of a single crochet is you pull through those two loops that are on your hook, and you're done. So let me show you again. Find the next hole wherever the heck it is. I hate this part. This is my friend Kate Soley did this part for me. So if you can get past it, it's easy. All right, here we go. Sometimes you can, so I'm already holding, see what my left hand's doing here? I know it looks like it's the right hand. I'm gonna go grab a loop. So I could have done this. I could have gone like that with my left hand. I'm just gonna hold that little strand of yarn with my left hand, and I'm gonna go under and make a little loop that way. So it's actually like I'm using my hook as a shovel, and I'm grabbing the white yarny snow. Now I've got that loop. Why did I do that? I don't know. Okay, forget all that. I forgot to go in the hole. So this hole now has a little crochet in it, single crochet. Go to the next hole. Here we go. I hope I did this right. Into the hole. The way, I'll show you the way later how you find the hole. Go over, it's making no sense, the hook, and then pull that loop through. That's the first part. Then you go over again and pull it through too. I'm gonna just do it faster so it has some kind of coherency. Find the next hole, go in the hole, force it in if you have to, pull through a loop, yarn over, and then pull through two. You go into the fabric, and then you pull a loop through that fabric, and then you yarn over, and then you pull through two. The tension has to be somewhat consistent. It's not too tight, but it's not too loose. That will work itself out later. Okay, so now I've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on. I'm just going to do some fast ones now. Here we go. 5. So you can see what it looks like. 6. I'll back up a little bit. 7. And then over. So I'm going to do the 2 stages. There's the hole, push it through, grab a loop, and then that's the first part. Then over and pull through 2. That was the second. Here's a hole, push it through, grab the first, and then make a loop. Go over and then pull through 2, and then you're done. Now I have to count to make sure I got 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9. Rats. Okay, I've never quite figured this out. So I'm going to make a hole at the end and make 10. So go into the hole, grab the loop, over the hook, scooping snow, and then pull through 2. Okay, we did it. So here's where you were yesterday, baby wormy. Let me show you this. Do you see? There's a little, this is the top. This is, yeah. There's a little V and a V and a V and a V and a V. My mom tried to show me that when I first was learning, and I didn't get it. I just didn't understand. Kate Soley showed me, and I got it for some reason. Mom wasn't too thrilled that I was interested in learning to crochet. But anyway, that's what you go under, is the little V. My mom's a knitter anyway, so she kind of was prejudiced against crochet. Yeah, they're knitter, you crochet. I learned to knit. I liked it. It was fun. but I made half the scarf and I dropped the hook off the scarf and I don't know how to put it back on. Crochet is nice if you drop your hook, you just go in one stitch at a time. You're not doing like the first half of the stitches like a zillion times and then the second half a zillion times. You just do one at a time, unless you're doing Tunisian crochet, and that's a little different, but that's not hard either. But anyway, that little V and that little V. So you're at the end of Baby Wormy. Okay, you just did 10 stitches. Now, what you're left with is this. So I'm at the left side of the fabric, so I've got to do this. Watch. I make my loop, and then I pull it through. That's called another little chain stitch. I flip Baby Wormy around, and now I'm going to start on the right side and go left again. If you notice this, you can even see the holes pretty good. Here's the V. Just make sure you see this. There's a V. It's 2 strands of yarn, right? I'm going to put my hook underneath it. That. Can you see that? That's a big mess. When I looked at your Elvis scarf, greenie scarf, I noticed that you had some like kind of ribbing, and that's fine. That you might have just gone in the wrong spot. But look for all those holes that are here and here and here, and they have V's on top. So I'm going to see if I can hold this. Push the hook through that V. It's pretty easy. Now you grab your little strand of yarn and you pull it through that hole, and then you yarn over. So again, all my second and third finger do is they just kind of pull it up and down, and then you pull through those 2 loops. So I'm going to do it a couple times. There's the hole. Put the hook through that hole with the two strands of yarn on the top. I don't know if you can see that. It's really important to see that. See that? Can you kind of see that? All right, and then, so again, I'm going to back up a little bit. So I'm holding the fabric with my thumb and my 4th finger, maybe my pinky a little bit. But my second and third finger, all it does is this, boom, dee boom, dee boom, dee boom. And I have the strand of yarn kind of over my second finger like that. So, and maybe I don't for now. I don't know what I'm doing. So there's another stitch. I'm going to just make a couple more, just so you can see this in action. So, into the hole, the V's in the top. Grab another loop and pull it through. Here's what the left hand does. This is what you were wondering. It just does this. It makes a loop, and it goes in the pattern of scooping snow. So I'll do it again. It goes scoop the snow, put it over the loop, over the hook. Then you angle your hook down, pulling up on these 2 strands. Here's your new loop right there, and you pull that through. And so notice I'm not doing this because it'll catch. I angle up. I'm sorry, I push up on those strands. I angle the hook down. I'm going to do it again. If you screwed up that stitch, you can just rip it out and do it again. Here we go. Go into the hole. Pull through a loop. Singer sewing machine scooping snow. Then I go like that. And I notice too, I'm kind of using these fingers to hold the fabric as well. I'm going to go faster now. Into the hole, scoop this, pull the loop, over the hook, pull through. Into the hole, pull through a loop, over the hook, pull through 2. Into the hole, pull a loop, over the hook, pull through 2. I'm going to go closer now. Into the hole, pull through a loop, over the hook, pull through 2. Into the hook. Now here's where it gets easy. Now, you have to make sure you get the last one. So I kind of have to pull with my fingers to make sure there's a hole there. You can still see there's a V. So I go into the hole, pull a loop, over the hook, pull through 2. Now I'm going to count. I'm going to count the V's on the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. If you think of what a stitch is, it's a post. And the posts go down from the top. So like these little ribs here in between the top and bottom, those ribs are your stitch. In order to bump yourself up to the next top so that you can continue making posts that go down into the fabric, That's why you do this little extra chain at the end, because it bumps you up to the next height. Then you flip it around. Now, if you can get past here, you're going to have it made. There's my first hole. Can you see right here? Boop. There's my second hole. Boop. So all these holes of those little V's. There's the first one. Grab it. So I'm just going to go really fast now so you can see what it looks like. Okay. So a little hole, over. So here's how long it takes to make a single crochet. In, pull, over, through. In, pull, over, through. So I go in, make a loop, over. So I'm just going to let you see what my hands do, because I don't think about it when I'm doing it. Oh, so relaxing. So you might have to kind of futz with your fabric a little bit to make it behave. But and there's the last one, and there it is. And then you don't have to count unless you're just really making sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My first scarf, I was adding, or leaving out a stitch, and some had really zigzaggy. That's just increasing, decreasing. There's a guy at Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood who came in he was a cameraman named Frank, and he had a scarf that he made, crocheted. And I said, oh, what stitch did you use? He said, I don't know. He said, it doesn't really matter. He says, as long as you're consistent. And that's true. I learned Tunisian crochet totally, quote unquote, wrong. And I did it like that for years. I had no idea until I looked online. I thought, oh, that's so much easier online. But, it wasn't a wrong stitch. It was just a different one. There's a zillion different ones. Okay, I'm going to do one more row, and I'm going to hang up. Here we go. I'm at the end, which means I'm on the left side of the fabric. I'm going to go over and do that extra bump up chain, and I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to go back from right to left. So here's all my V's. You always have those V's. I'm going to go under the V and pull a loop, over the hook and pull through 2, under the V and pull a loop, over the hook and pull through 2, do 2. So I'm just going to look what my left hand's doing here. Wish I could sit backwards. Maybe I can. Just a minute. I'll do it from this angle now, and you can see. Oops. It's not my yoga over. Okay, so we go into the hook, into there, and pull through 2, over the hook and pull through 2, into the fabric. Whoops. So I only went under one of those V loops. You got to go under both. Now I got 2. Over, now I got 1. So into the hole, pull a loop, over the hook, pull through 2. That's probably no help at all. And then you do it with your toes because you're busy playing the piano or the dulcimer. Oh, anyway, so see? And once you kind of get the hang of it, watch my left hand. So my left hand's here. I'm just going to finish this row. Holding this and kind of pulling the hole so I can see it with my left hand. I'm using this finger to kind of hold the loop from sliding up and down. I do a lot of this kind of, looks like this. Into that. Just so you know, I'll finish with this. There's 10 again. Okay, so that looks kind of nice. See? The smaller your hook or the fatter the yarn, that makes a difference. The smaller the hook makes tighter holes. The fatter the yarn makes tighter holes. And it just depends, on the ratio of each, whatever you're using. All the other stitches are based on loops through loops. So the first thing you did was you made a bunch of chains. That's actually not the first row is actually just a bunch of chains. Your second row which is after we made the chain, we did our first row of single crochets. The second row is actually our first row of single crochet. And then we just kept going back and forth, back and forth. If you ever wanted to do the other stitches, they're all basically the same thing, they just add a step. So I'm just going to show you the different ones. So, just so you see it once. So the simplest one of all is make a chain. I'm just going to make a chain right now. So that's a chain. I'm going to turn it around just for kicks. Okay, here's what a slip stitch is. It's easy. It's the next most complicated, but it's not that bad. You go into the hole, and you pull a loop just like you would for single crochet, but you don't yarn over, you just pull that new loop through the old one. That's called a slip stitch, and that's what Kathy made her hat like. She went round and round and round, so she actually never turned her rows, she just kept going round and round and round like a basket. So that's slip stitch. The next most complicated is single crochet. So it's just what we learned. You go into the hole, you pull up a loop, and then you go over again, yarn over again, and pull through the two. All right, here's the next most complicated is instead of going straight into that hole with just your, hook with one loop on it, you actually yarn over first. Then you go into the hole and pull another loop. So instead of having two, you now have three. Not a big deal. Notice I'm kind of holding them so I don't slide. You go over. Now I've got four in there. And I pull that new loop through all three. That's called half double crochet. So let me review. From simplest to hardest. They're not hard, but more complicated. You get simple as chain. The next one is slip stitch. The next one is single crochet. The next one is half double. Here's a stitch you're going to use a zillion times. Make granny squares and all kinds of fun stuff. You do the same thing like you did for half double. You go over first. You go into the hole just like you're used to doing. You pull up another loop. Now here's where the fun begins. It's a musical version of how to crochet. You go over the hook and pull through two, over the hook and pull through two. That's called double crochet. It's just like single crochet, because remember on the way out you're always pulling a loop through two. You just do it twice. That's why they call it double. And you get, notice this, we're getting gradually longer and longer and longer and higher and higher and higher posts. So your fabric will get higher sooner if you use double crochet. It also may be a little more holy too. It might be floppier too. That's what's just depending on what you want. The next step is, so we just did double, is treble, which means triple. So you, instead of going over once, you go over twice. So now I've got three in there. Before you even go into the fabric, I find the hole and I make a loop and I pull it through. And guess what? Now you go over the hook and pull through two, over the hook and pull through two, over the hook and pull through two. And then look how long that post is. So those are your, if you know those stitches, you can make a zillion gazillion different things. If you know single crochet, you can make everything, pretty much. I'll show you how to do Tunisian crochet, because that's really cool and fun. It makes a very thick fabric with not so holy. It's a lot like knitting, where it's got like a knit side and a purl side, and the knit side looks kind of like a combination of crochet and weaving and knitting. It looks really cool. Again, there's a lot of stitches. I'll also show you how to crochet in the round, which you kind of need to know how to do as well. It's easy. You just make a circle and then you just keep going round and round and round. Anyway, does that make sense? And then if you screw it up, let's say you screwed it up and you want to go back to here. Notice you always have one loop on your hook. So find the loop that's on the top of your row, because remember all of your stitches start on the top and go down and down and down, okay? I usually can see there's like a collection of little loops on this little spot there, and just put your hook back. So let's say, oh, I screwed it up. I'm going to go back to here, find the little top hole, the loop in it, and put it right back in and proceed as normal. It's just so easy. It's just that easy. So thanks for doing this, Shelly. I'm so excited you're learning how to play crochet. Next lesson I'll teach you dulcimer. Thank you for my dulcimer. I love it. It's a lovely thing to do, just like this. And you can make a dulcimer strap out of this. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can send this. It's almost at the half-hour mark. I'm not sure how I'm gonna send it. I'll have to maybe. Oh, okay. I'm gonna turn it off because Facebook might shut me off if it's too long. Here's what my hair looks like. All right, back to little cheesers. Kitty's asleep.